Hey there, in this video we're going to go over some of the features that an out-of-the-box product like JobTread has to offer to contractors. There are other software that's out there that I've heard of, one of them also being BuilderTrend. One of the things about these products, although they come with the capability of customizing it to your business, it can be a very daunting task to take on, especially if you're not big into software or technology or you're a smaller shop. Some of this stuff can be done by your account representative as well to help you. But again, it's kind of almost the blind leading the blind if it comes down to how things break down. They do, fortunately, I know JobTread does have professionals with construction experience. This particular client of ours at our Construction Solutions is moving out of the residential space into commercial, which is oftentimes the type of work that we get just because of my extensive background in the construction industry with new construction, both public and private sector. I have a lot of insight and I just happen to have a knack for technology. So the purpose of this video is just to kind of walk through a couple of things. If you're dealing with JobTread and you have some questions, and you want to know if there's more flexibility or there's something else that you can implement that could help streamline some of your processes at your company, I hope this video will help. And I'm going to start off here with the settings tab. Basically, all the fun stuff, right? Setting up your color, putting your address, those things are pretty self-explanatory. I do want to get into roles, job costing, custom fields, and web forms. I'll save the workflows maybe for another video, but what's great about it is that this not only is a platform that can help you with managing your projects, it can also help function as a CRM, which is a client relationship management system. So depending on how you set things up, this could be a really powerful platform, and I think it's only a couple $100 a month. So definitely affordable. But again, if this isn't your thing with setting these things up, oftentimes what I see with people is that they purchase the software out of the box, realize that it is so flexible and it does have all these customizations for their company and how they do business, but it just turns into such a daunting task for them because they can't run their business and then also build this at the same time, and it often falls to the wayside and then they just cancel their subscriptions. Our clients come to us with the understanding that we'll build this out for them on their platform, so you own everything that's in here. We also build our own systems and platforms using our own software. You would also still own all of the information. It is a lot more customizable and expandable. But as far as custom software goes, maybe not as cost effective. So we'll head into the roles. What I like about this is this kind of mimics Procore a little bit, which Procore is definitely on the commercial side of things and is pretty costly. It does have its bugs like any software, but I like the fact that it mimics this because JobTread allows not only your company to run out of the software, but also for your customers, your vendors, your subcontractors, your suppliers have access. And what this does under roles is it limits the access that people have to certain information, which is great, right? So this way your field guy doesn't have access to your markup and stuff and your profits, and then also your vendors don't have access to information on other jobs that they're not supposed to or things of that sort. So I will say that for this, we are bending the rules a little bit for this client because they have some additional needs, right? So we've created what's kind of not the correct use or the traditional use for the vendor role, but we've created a section for candidates so that they can also use JobTread to keep track of the resumes that they receive for open positions. And then as far as I'll show you another filter that has to do with subcontractors, but basically using this as a platform for sending out bid solicitations, right? And recruiting those subcontractors, if you're a GC, to do some work for you. So there's, like I said, we're kind of bending the rules a little bit. It's not how the platform was originally intended, but there are workarounds, right? I'm not a big fan of that phrase, but workarounds are just kind of getting a little creative. So when we get into the job costing part of things, you have your units of measure, and what a lot of contractors, especially smaller shops, they don't really keep track of the smaller pieces of what goes into a bid, right? Your general conditions. So that would be your portalet. If you have to put a job trailer on site, they just kind of throw a number out there and hope they make some money, right? There's no intentional markup on things. There's no intentional tracking of, hey, we're going to put our superintendent on the site for 3 months and then allocate a certain amount in the budget for it and hope that, you know, that time is split between other jobs and it's not 100% 3 months on that particular job. Cost codes are very important. I can do a whole separate video on that. But what's great about cost codes is it gives everything that happens on your job a specific pocket to go into so that you can track it, right? How much did you spend on mobilization? How much did you spend on temporary facilities, utilities, right? Temp power, having somebody just printing out your blueprints, right? All of these cost codes were actually created specifically for the type of niche that this client is going to be in, which is the commercial renovation side of things, and will be able to be used in QuickBooks as well. So it's really just how you state it. Right now, we just have all the general conditions in here. We still need to populate it with the trades. For example, Division 3 for concrete, Division 4 for masonry, and so on and so forth. So we're just now importing that stuff. There's several line items. Just the general conditions was 98 line items. The other ones will probably total to about 2,000 once we're done at the end of the day. So an import is very important. But the thing about importing is that it can go very wrong very fast if you've ever done it. So I prefer not to leave this up to the account rep at a lot of these software companies simply because they don't know how your business runs. They don't 100% understand the day-to-days just because many of them haven't necessarily worked boots on the ground like I have. So my insights tends to be a little bit different. Anyways, not to self promote on my video, but it is my video, right? Anyways, so we have our custom fields, and this is another thing that comes up. This shows up on the job screen that they have here, and putting in these custom fields. There's a cool little trick with adding an emoji here to help kind of highlight things and really call out certain fields to help break things up because there's a lot of white space in this. So we added some custom fields here to help track where the customers come from. So a customer can give us multiple jobs. You kind of got to think about that stuff, a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-many ratio. You'll have many contacts at a customer. Same thing with vendor accounts. You'll have several. You might deal with different reps at at the same vendor, depending on the type of work you're doing. For example, if you're an electrician, you might deal with one rep for low voltage, another rep for fixtures, another rep for your J boxes and conduit and stuff. So then we decided to put a thing called MSDS sheets. This is very popular in the commercial side of things where you have to provide paperwork that proves that the products or chemicals or whatever on site, if anything should happen or interact with any personnel there, that there's some type of safety protocol or how it should be treated. This here by job, we added some additional things to help kind of track their internal process that they've implemented within the company. For example, a project launch checklist, which includes several items that are just standard for starting a job, like nearest emergency location, fire department, fire extinguisher, PPE, things of that sort. And then we have here cost items and then daily logs, which in here, some platforms might just have like a text field. And in my opinion, if it's possible to add these custom fields, which JobTread has a nice, generous allowance of 25 custom fields per section like this. So I can have up to 25 in each section. It does probably get a little cluttered and trying to figure out where everything goes. Could be a little bit overwhelming, but that's what these emojis are for, to kind of call out those things. So daily log, I went ahead and built it out full on with all the required fields that would get filled out for a daily log, just because oftentimes those things are handed in. And it's great to have a standardization in place where you're answering things specifically, yes or no, and providing detail specifically to a particular question. In addition to that, another thing that would be a daily submission if required on the job site would be a job hazard analysis form. So I went ahead and built that out. as far as the MSDS sheets, those aren't daily. So, and I also ran out of custom fields here. So that's why I went ahead and put it under location, just because that's where I had the most flexibility and the allowance for those custom fields. We'll be adding some additional things here as well. So before I get into the web forms, I'll just show you here on jobs. When you go into a job, all of that stuff with those emojis is here for setting up the project. The MSDS sheets is here. There are none right now. As far as daily reports, if you go into daily logs and you go to add a daily log, you can fill out your information for the daily log. And then as you scroll down, you'll see that emoji there to help call it out that we're headed into the job hazard analysis section. So I think this is great. And through filtering and reports, we'll be able to kind of eliminate these fields as needed if they show up. So we'll go back to settings, head over to web forms. And I think one of the most important things here on web forms is that basically you can set up these forms for people to fill out that go directly on your website. So if somebody goes to your website and fills out a form, you don't have to worry about copying and pasting that information into your software, right? It comes straight into here. Also, what's great about it is that it helps eliminate, fat finger syndrome. And you can create forms for anything that you need. Oftentimes what happens in the commercial sector, we'll have something for, a contact me form, but then there'll be something in there for qualifying subcontractors and suppliers also to make sure, we get their W-9, to help them kind of file themselves, right? Categorize themselves in our system. And then we'll also be using this to, have an intake form for candidates, but you can use it for anything. If it's for, it doesn't even have to be a published link on your site. Maybe you have a form that new employees fill out all the time and you're just tired of having that extra handling. You can just do it here. So I went ahead and copied that just to give you an idea of what this looks like. And we'll go ahead and kind of show you what this looks like, right? So this is what the form will look like. These colors here are because we picked those colors and we're only allowed the 2, but it's pretty self-explanatory. And then also you can take that, actually I believe it didn't show you what that screen I went to, which is fine. It's over here on the preview. And then as far as your, whoever did your website, or if you did it yourself and you're given the option of providing an embed code, you can always copy that and then that'll put it in there as well, instead of having it navigate to a separate link. So that right there is kind of an overview of where we're at in the process. We still need to finish out our cost codes to give you an idea of where we end up. Here are the general conditions, right? So cost groups. This cost group is called general conditions. This has all of those in there. You can add a whole group to your budget. But what I love about this is that if you have safety things, so I'll just type in safety and here it all is, right? And then there's some feedback here. Again, this is what I've built out for them. The system doesn't come with this, but basically for the area in the Chicagoland area, you can expect to spend, $18 to $45 per linear foot of privacy screen. So it's up to you what you want to do. But if you're adding this to your budget, you can put in the unit cost, but there's some guidance here, like what's included, right? And then, yeah, that concludes this part of the video. I hope it was helpful. And subscribe if you guys want to see more, or if you have anything else you guys would like me to dive into. Thanks so much.